Silence is better than unmeaningful words. With this quote from Pythagoras, we welcome you to another edition of this wonderful program on radio, Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call attention of the public to education matters as they affect the effective running of the educational system and the achievement of the educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday on this station, Light Radio. I am Aisha Hussein. Our goal is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influence public opinion, and drive effective educational policy, directions to guide the formulators and implementers. For your comments, questions, and contribution, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightradio, on X at The Light Radio, Instagram light_radio, on YouTube Light Radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 0809 7384 000. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. If you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio. We kick off with the news segment. Hello all, this is the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Aisha Hussein. First, the headlines. ASUP suspends strike, orders member to resume. Federal government set 3-year target to migrate NECO WAEC exam to CBT. Yabatech gets new BOSA registrar. And on the foreign scene, judge pauses sexual abuse lawsuit involving leader McMahon, WWE. Now the details. The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, has directed its members to resume work across the country as a 2-week definite strike action has elapsed. ASUP said the decision followed a new memorandum of understanding reached at a conciliation meeting with the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment on December 9. A statement made available to journalists in Abuja directing members to commence work on Monday, December 16, signed by ASUP President Shama S. Panja, reads, "Member of the union and indeed the general public may recall that our union declared a 2-week definite strike effective December 2, 2024 over the inability of the government through its agencies to execute 9 items in the work plan jointly developed with our union to resolve some pending issues of trade disputes." It went to say, within the period of the strike, the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment convened a conciliation meeting between our union and government on December 9, 2024 to resolve the dispute and save the sector from the impending indefinite strike. At the meeting, a new memorandum of understanding was signed with a caveat that another meeting will be held on January 23, 2025 to assess compliance by parties as well as to address other issues. Federal government has set a 3-year timeline to migrate all O-level examinations conducted by the National Examination Council (NECO) and the West African Examination Council (WAEC) to computer-based testing (CBT) mode. Minister of Education Dr. Tunji Alausa gave this indication at a meeting with the officials of the Joint Admission Matriculation Board (JAMB), NECO WAEC, and the Director of Senior Secondary Education in Abuja. Director, Press and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Education, Boriowo Folashade, conveyed this in a statement on Friday in Abuja. He stressed the government's commitment to upholding the integrity of high-stakes and achievement examination conducted by NECO and WAEC, as well as placement exams designed by JAMB. The federal government has unveiled plans to establish social work across the 6 geopolitical zones of the Federation. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nentawe Yilwata, disclosed this in Enugu during the commission of a 100 kVA transformer produced by the Ministry of Federal School of Social Works, MNA, Enugu State. The minister explained that the ministry, with the approval of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, is also making effort to establish other similar institutions in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The minister, represented by the Director General Service of the ministry, stated that the school was established on March 15, 1983, to play a leading role in the implementation of Decree Number 12 of 1974, to aid the development of the middle-level manpower for the social development sector. The course content, which includes youth work, correctional care service, sociology, family education, contemporary social problems, comparative studies in social development, among others, have been fashioned to enable the production of sound and quality workers to meet the challenges of today's social problem in our society. The minister, however, assured the school that all necessary steps will be put in place to provide relevant structures in the school. The Yaba College of Technology has announced the appointment of a new substantive bursar and registrar, respectively. They are Mr. John Olushola Dada and Ms. Henrietta Adebola Gbemsola Badejo. Announcing the two appointments by the Governing Council of Yaba Tech College. In a statement yesterday, the acting registrar, Dr. E.J.A. Akinwale, noted that both appointments for a 5-year tenure will commence with effect from January 2, 2025. The new YCT bursar is a native of Efun-Alaye in Ekiti State and a proud alumnus of both the CAC Grammar School, Efun-Alaye, and Federal Polytechnic Ado-Ekiti, among other institutions attended. Dada, a professional accountant, management and financial expert, is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, FCA, associate member, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, ACTI, and associate member, Chartered Institute of Management Accounts of Nigeria, ASIMA. With a combination of 30 years of working experience across polytechnic, university and private sector, Dada has received several commendations on the job in professional and community service, inclusive of 5 different times from Yaba Tech Management. Commendations received by the new YCT bursar, among others, are on proper accounting record on TET fund activities, computerization and digitalization of the bursary department, and proper accounting returns. And on the foreign scene, Judge pursues sexual lawsuit involving Trump's Education Secretary pick. A judge has altered a federal lawsuit accusing Linda McMahon, President-elect Donald Trump's pick, to lead the Department of Education of failing to stop alleged sexual abuse at a wrestling company. U.S. District Judge James K. Breda paused the case last week pending a ruling in a separate matter before the Maryland Supreme Court that case challenges the constitutionality of Maryland Child Victim Act of 2023, a state law that repealed the statute of limitation for child abuse lawsuit. In the federal suit, 5 unarmed former employees of World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWE, say McMahon and her husband, Vince, allowed the systematic and pervasive abuse of underage children to persist for 5 years at the hands of the longtime employee who died in 2012. The suit also named WWE as a defendant. The lawsuit says Melvin Phillips Jr., a former ring announcer, hired boys as young as 12 to help set up and take down wrestling rings in order to sexually abuse them. The former employee's lawyer says Vince McMahon knew about Phillips' peculiar and unnatural interest in young boys since at least the 1980s. The lawsuit was initially filed in state court in Baltimore in October, roughly a month before Trump tapped Linda McMahon for his cabinet. The case then gained national attention and was transformed to federal court in Maryland in December. McMahon, who served during Trump's first term as head of Small Business Administration, will face confirmation hearing in Republican-controlled Senate in the new year. That's all on the news today, but before we go, another look at the major stories. ASUP suspends strike, other members to resume. Federal government set 3-year target to migrate NECO, WAEC, and exam to CBT. Yaba Tech gets new bursar registrar, And on the foreign scene, judge post sexual abuse lawsuit involving Linda McMahon, WWE. That's the news. It was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. For coverage of your educational events, seminars, conference, fairs, competition among others, you can call us on 0702 5074 268, or you can send us a mail via educationmediaservice@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Kò gba ẹ̀kọ́ ó dáni lójú pé yóò jìyà iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
That's how we can take on the news for today. Right now, we'll take the country in focus.
You're welcome to the Country in Focus segment, where we consider a particular country of the world, its basic features, and most importantly, its educational system for the benefit of our listeners. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Today, the country in focus is South Korea. South Korea, officially the Republic of Korea (ROK), is a country in East Asia. It constitutes the southern half of the Korean Peninsula and borders North Korea along the Korean Demilitarized Zone. The country's western border is formed by the Yellow Sea, while its eastern border is defined by the Sea of Japan. It has a population of 51.96 million, of which half live in the capital area, Seoul, the ninth most populous metropolitan area in the world. Other major cities include Busan, Daegu, and Incheon. After the unification of the three kingdoms of Korea into Silla and Balhae in the late 7th century, Korea was ruled by the Goryeo dynasty from 918 to 1392 and the Joseon dynasty from 1392 to 1897. The succeeding Korean Empire from 1897 to 1910 was annexed in 1910 into the Empire of Japan. Japanese rule ended following Japan's surrender in World War II, after which Korea was divided into two zones. A northern zone which was occupied by the Soviet Union and a southern zone which was occupied by the United States of America. After negotiations on reunification failed, the southern zone became the Republic of Korea in August 1948, while the northern zone became the Communist Democratic People's Republic of Korea the following month. In 1950, a North Korean invasion began the Korean War, which ended in 1953 after extensive fighting involving the American-led United Nations Command and the People's Volunteer Army from China with Soviet assistance. The war left 3 million Koreans dead and the economy in ruins. The May 16 coup of 1961, led by Park Chung-hee, put an end to the Second Republic, signaling the start of the Third Republic in 1963. South Korea. The Fourth Republic was established after the October Restoration of 1972. The country is now considered among the most advanced democracies in continental and East Asia. South Korea maintains a unitary presidential republic under the 1987 constitution with a unicameral legislature of the National Assembly. It is considered a regional power in East Asia and a developed country, with its economy ranked as the world's 14th largest by nominal GDP and the 14th largest by PPP adjusted GDP. Its citizens enjoy one of the world's fastest internet connection speeds and densest high-speed railway network. The country is the world's 9th largest exporter and 9th largest importer. Its armed forces are ranked as one of the world's strongest militaries, with the world's 2nd largest standing army by military and paramilitary personnel, as well as an active conscription system. In the 21st century, South Korea has also been renowned for its globally influential pop culture, particularly in music, television dramas, and cinema, a phenomenon referred to as the Korean Wave. It is a member of the OECD's Development Assistance Committee, the G20, the IPEF, and the Paris Club. The country remains a strong ally of the United States of America. For its educational system, the educational system of South Korea is highly regarded and considered one of the best in the world. The system is divided into several stages, including primary education, which is compulsory for children aged 6 to 12 and lasts for 6 years. The middle school, also known as Jonghagyo, is the next stage and lasts for 3 years starting from age 12. Education at this stage is free of charge. Music schools. Higher education is highly valued in South Korean society, and the country has some of the world's top universities, including Seoul National University, Korea University, and Yonsei University. The education system in South Korea is highly competitive, and students face immense pressure to succeed academically. The country has a strong culture of education, with many parents holding high expectations for their children's academic achievement. Overall, the educational system of South Korea is designed to provide students with a high-quality education that prepares them for success in an increasingly competitive global economy. That's it on the Country in Focus segment for today. I hope you have learned something about South Korea. I remain OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
That was the Country in Focus. Right now, we'll take the profession of the week. Good day, everyone, and welcome again to the segment for the profession of the week. I am Aisha Hussein. Here, we are exploring a particular profession or field of human endeavor within the educational sector, and I will be telling you what it is about. The knowledge and educational qualification required for admission into tertiary institution, years of training required, and schools that have the accreditation to offer these courses. On this episode, we are considering adult education as a profession and course of study. Adult education is the teaching or training of adults. The education can take place in varieties of settings. As an adult educator, you may teach large classroom of students at the college or university, or a small group of adults in corporate setting. Adult educators may even find themselves working with students on individual basis. Adult educators encourage and enable adults to further their education. Adult education, distinct from child education, is a practice in which adults engage in systematic and sustained self-educating activities in order to gain new form of knowledge, skills, attitude, or values. It can mean any form of learning adults engage in beyond traditional schooling, encompassing basic literacy to personal fulfillment as a lifelong learner and to ensure the fulfillment of an individual. In particular, adult education reflects a specific philosophy about learning and teaching based on the assumption that adults can and want to learn, that they are able and willing to take responsibility for learning, and that learning itself should respond to their needs. The practice of adult education is referred to as andragogy, to distinguish it from the traditional school-based education for children pedagogy. Unlike children, adults are seen as more self-directed rather than relying on others for help. Degree program in adult education equip you to teach adults in the setting and field of your choice. Most adult education degrees are master's degree or higher, building on more generalized education degrees and experience at the undergraduate level. Some undergraduate adult education programs do exist. However, adult education allows for personal development, goal achievement, and sociability. Therefore, these programs are often known as continuing education programs. It is any form of educational course completed by someone who has finished the continuous education cycle. This is anyone who has completed their compulsory schooling and wants to return to school at a later date. Teachers in adult education may practice in various settings, including corporate training, professional development, community college, non-profit or human services. Some programs also qualify graduates to become trainers in specific professions such as emergency medical technician training, EMT, health training, life coach, and others. Adult education graduates can choose from a variety of professional paths and specialization. You can educate students beyond high school with a degree in adult education. This career also opens possibilities to job in community organization, human resource development teams, academic admission, and research. Some of the education major jobs include vocational college and university teachers, community college or professor, continuing educational professor, corporate trainer, corporate training specialist, education administrator, GED instructor, human resource manager, literacy specialist. A bachelor's degree in adult education typically includes course on communication, curriculum development, and theory and practice of adult education. Generally speaking, these programs takes 4 years to complete. Adult education is available at all levels of education, including bachelor's and master's. A typical curriculum includes subjects like professional success, adult learning theory, learning styles, critical thinking, communication, social sciences, family literacy, technology in education, etc. Economic rewards. Salaries vary depending this type of employer you work for, your location, whether you are in a private practice, your experience and special skills. Some adult education work on a voluntary basis, while many others work as literacy specialists, extension officers, community development specialists, and continuing educator. At the senior secondary school level, someone interested in adult education can go to any department, although most universities in Nigeria give preference to art and social science department. Adult education requires 5 O-level credit pass in English language, mathematics, and 3 of literature in English, history, government, geography, economics, Igbo, Yoruba, Christian religious studies, Islamic religious studies, French, and civic education in the SSC by WAEC or NECO. Adult education as a degree course is usually situated in the Faculty of Education under different nomenclatures like adult education, community life education, extension education, manpower development, and education amongst others. Be sure to check properly when searching. There are basically 2 modes of entry into the program. Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME. Admission candidates are expected to sit and write the following subjects in UTME: English language and any 3 of literature in English, history, French, geography, mathematics, Igbo or Yoruba, CRS or IRS, economics, government, commerce, or as specified by the school of choice. Also, there are opportunities for direct entry, DE. Admission to join the second year level for a 3-year degree program in counseling using NCE option. This requires any 2 of the teaching subjects available in the university of choice like literature in English, economics, CRS, IRS, government, history, Igbo, Yoruba, French, and geography passes at merit or above levels. As for the schools offering adult education degree program, almost all universities with faculty or institutes of education have, as well as degree awarding college of education like Adeyemi College of Education, Alvan Ikoku College of Education, and Emmanuel Alayande College of Education. So that's it on the profession of the week for this week. See you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bàkàrẹ́ àdúgbò kò ká tó bá kàwé rẹ̀. àtàrẹ àwọ̀ṣẹ́ rere nílẹ̀. Àkùnmáàdù kàwé rẹ̀, àtàrẹ àdúgbò kò ká tó bá kàwé rẹ̀, àtàrẹ àwọ̀ṣẹ́ rere nílẹ̀. Ìṣú yìí kàwé rẹ̀, àtàrẹ àdúgbò kò ká tó bá kàwé rẹ̀.
You are still on to Education Today on Light Radio, and right now we are moving into the discourse segment, and our guest is here with us. We are discussing the Nigerian tax reform bills, implications for education. The federal government of Nigeria is proposing to reform the nation's tax law. It is undertaking this with 4 different bills on different aspects of the nation's tax system. This move has faced mixed reaction, with some supporting the bills while many, especially from the northern part of the country, opposed to the bills. However, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has also voiced its concerns over the bill, especially because it threatened the existence and survival of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund in favor of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. What effect exactly does this move pose for education in Nigeria? Joining us on the program today, we have an educational administrator, lecturer, researcher, educational consult, and our in-house analyst, Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Aisha. Good afternoon to our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
You can be part of the discourse by sending your comments and questions to 0809 738 4000 or drop your comments via the live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube. Before moving into the discourse proper, our short quiz question is: what is the official name for South Korea and when was it established? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809 7384 000 or our Facebook or YouTube page. The first correct answer gets our prize. So, Mr. KAZEEM, welcome. So, what are your thoughts on the proposed tax reform bills in Nigeria, and how do you think it would impact the education sector?
Thank you very much. Talking about the tax reform bills, first we need to inform our listeners and everyone who cares to know about it that when we talk about the tax reform bills, there are about 4 different bills involved here. So you have the Nigerian tax bill, you have the Nigerian tax administration bill, you have the Nigerian revenue service bill, establishment bill, and you also have the joint revenue board establishment bill. So 4 different bills. And the idea behind these bills is that there is a need to actually address some of the imbalances and the complexities, the challenges with our tax system in Nigeria. There is a need to actually harmonize. There are so many states that feel probably they'll be shortchanged by the whole process. And at the same time, some organizations feel like probably at the end of the day, you might say you want to harmonize it, but probably there are lots of, you actually probably worsen the burden of the people, that in terms of the fact that people are talking about the wrong timing of this bill, that because Nigerians already have a lot on their plates, talking about the fact that you are still battling with the first subsidy removal, you are battling with the floating of the naira, and these 2 joint policies have actually worsened the rate of inflation in the country. It has reduced the purchasing power of the naira, and so many other challenges like that have made life a living hell for a lot of Nigerians. And for them to feel like the government is also coming up with this. Now, our major focus is on the fact that the bill threatens some the existence of other organizations like TET Fund, like NASENI, like NITDA. And these are organizations that also, pushing the fact that we want to improve, funding or the infrastructural facilities in our tertiary institution, and TET Fund is a major backbone which has actually sustained some of these institutions. They talk about, NITDA, that is, in charge of, encouraging the movement of Nigeria into this, ICT economy. I talk about NASENI, that is interested in Nigerian science and engineering, development in our country. That this bill probably threatens their existence in favor of the student loan. NEL Fund, which is another very, very beautiful organization, one way or the other, that is providing, soft loans, not interest-free loans to students to be able to meet up with their payment of school fees and relieve the burden of parents. But one way or the other, people like that 1% of their profit before tax is devoted to NITDA, and for Naseni that's about 0.25% of some other revenue kind of like is going there. But in this case now, with this new bill, it is saying that from 2025 all these taxes will be compressed into what is now called development levy.
Okay.
Now this development levy, for a start, will be regressive. For 2025 and 2026 it will be 20%, it will be 4% of all these companies put together, 4% of their profits. Then for 2027, 2028 and 2029 it will fall to 3%. Then from 2029 upwards it will fall to 2%. Now, to be regressive, ordinarily, that's the way it most likely is. That ordinarily, stylishly, people are afraid that with this system that federal government is bringing, from 2025, federal government might probably not or remove or reduce its allocation to education under the guise that, after all, the development levy will take care of it with third fund. Then from 2030 upwards, it means that for higher education generally, if care is not taken, there will probably be zero allocation from the federal government for higher education, public higher education in Nigeria. And everybody is expected to, all the students go and get loan. And at the end of the day, the schools should charge whatsoever they want, and the student must pay
if you want to be educated.
If you want to be educated. So at the end of the day, it is whatever each school is able to generate from its studentship that they will use in probably maintaining their staff. Research and proposal led to the establishment of what we call Education Tax Fund in the first instance in 1993. Now, in 2011, when federal government, because after return to democracy, federal government established the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, and that is a UBE fund with which it's able to fund, basic education. So government, so ASU proposed that since there is already a funding arrangement for basic education, then the federal government the education tax fund should change to third fund. That let it focus basically on tertiary education. And since 2011, any building, if you see any new building or a recent building in a tertiary institution, public tertiary institutions all across the country, it's a product of third fund. Majority, more than 80% of such are products of third fund. That you see research is going on in tertiary institutions, a lot of it, the fund is actually coming from third fund. That directly, because if we check, the women government announced the establishment of NEL Fund, that it is going to implement the student loan program. Tertiary institutions across the federation, public tertiary institutions, especially federal tertiary institutions across the federation, all of them hiked the school fees. And they did not reverse. They only probably reduced after agitation by students. Now with this, if there will be no funding from third fund from 2030 upwards, the implication is the cost of education would go higher. Because at the end of the day, the institutions will be able to survive. See, currently as it stands, a lot of them are finding it difficult to even survive, even with the hiking fees. I'll give an example. University of Lagos, as our last session, charged the students utility bill of 15,000 naira so that it can meet up with electricity bill. After charging it, the federal government came up with this idea of band 18. And at the end of the day, the whole burden will fall back on the students, and they'll tell you that after all, you have the student loan, so go and get student loan. So I don't know what would happen to Nigerians beyond 2027 if this student loan thing and this idea of the tax reform bills, continues like that.
It's tough. How do you think the tax reform bills will implicate the ability of education or educational institutions to attract and retain top talent? Now,
the implication is for a lot of these institutions, it's few people, a lot of students might drop out. One. Number two is, they might attract some talent, but they might not be able to sustain them. That's one. Then number two is, it means that it is only those who can afford that the institutions will be able to attract. And that will probably just be like the same thing that is happening with the private, tertiary institutions. So at the end of the day, so it means that you might not actually get the best of brains. You might only get that if we are taking away the natural sources of funding from TET fund, and it's a law that established TET fund. So if you will now need to appeal or amend the law establishing TET fund, then we must look at some other sustainable sources of revenue for TET fund. But what people are saying is, why kill TET fund just because of NEL fund? Why kill NITSDA just because of NEL fund? Can't we look at other ways by which we'll be able to fund NEL fund and leave these other agencies as they are, for the fact that they are still, performing that? It's the same federal government that is establishing more institutions. And you are not thinking of how do we fund these new ones we are setting up when the existing ones are not even properly funded. So you can see that we are moving one step forward and probably 20 steps backwards. I don't know.
So finally, for the discourse segment, I want to ask, what are some potential opportunities for collaboration between government, educational institutions, and other stakeholders to ensure successful implementation of the tax reform bills?
We cannot talk about successful implementation of tax reform bills when we've not even agreed on some of the clauses of the tax reform bills, and that's why it is actually generating some of these reactions from ASU, from NANS, from the National Assembly, and some other critical stakeholders. I think that we should not put the cart before the horse. What we should have is some of this stakeholder engagement with all these critical stakeholders. Let us have a general understanding. Let us be on the same page. A roundtable discussion. Let us brainstorm. Let us look at it critically, so that at least we judge instead of war. So why should we, when we see chaos, why should we plunge into a chaos when ordinarily we can actually settle it amicably? So I would say that this tax reform bill is an opportunity for us to actually reform our tax system, no problem, no doubt. And for me, I believe that federal government has a good intention for coming up with these tax reform bills. But at the same time, it is better that we discuss, so we are all on the same page, than for us to actually have this mutual suspicion that I don't trust you. You want to steal money, or you want to kill me. You want to make life hell for me. That is what you are trying to do. And say, I'm trying to help you. How do you think someone will receive help from you when the person does not trust the help that you're trying to bring? It will fail.
The help is suspicious.
So there is that suspicion. So let us clear the suspicion. Let us clear some of the cloud. Let us, clear the cloud, hovering around these tax reform bills. So that at the end of the day, by the time we have a clearer picture, we are all on the same page. Then we look at the pros and cons of these things we are bringing. So that at the end of the day, if there are areas that we can modify, let us modify. I gave, the chick that lays the golden egg, which is TET fund, with which we are still able to have this silver lining for tertiary education in Nigeria. That's when you now want to kill it, simply because you say people should have access to loans. It's not everybody that would adopt that system. And Nigerians are even saying that what we need now is not loan. What we need is support from the government. After all, it was because you said so that you can free up funds to take care of other critical sectors of the economy. That was why you removed fuel subsidy in the first instance. Unfortunately, you are no longer providing that same funding for education, for health, for agriculture. So what exactly are you spending the money on? The savings from fuel subsidy, where is it going? The savings from the so-called arbitrage in the forex market with which you floated the naira, and the value of the naira fell, considerably, in fact, dramatically, beyond proportion. That at the end of the day, the naira is now looking like an ordinary paper without value. That's why all that and the so-called savings from the so-called arbitrage. What have you been able to? What do we have to show for it? Especially in terms of our educational system.